Hey guys, it's Hannah Satropa from Toronto Humane Society, and I hope everybody is having a very exciting and fun Paws in the Park weekend, enjoying all of the activities we have lined up for you guys. Remember to engage, remember to take photos, to post and tag us for lots of opportunities to win fun prizes. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Dr. Linda Jacobson. Linda is a wealth of knowledge, and we are so excited to have her to discuss your questions today, questions that you guys have asked Linda. A little intro for you. So Dr. Jacobson obtained her veterinary degree in Pretoria, South Africa in 1986, and subsequently also completed a residency in a small animal internal medicine, and a PhD on the disease mechanics of tick-borne illnesses. She also completed in the University of Florida's online graduate program a certificate in shelter medicine in 2015, and she is currently our senior manager of shelter medicine and advancements, focusing on research and education that improves the lives of homeless animals and animals who might be lacking access to veterinary care. Linda, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm very happy to be here.
Yay, we're happy to have you. So we'll dive right into the questions here. So the first question the public wants to know, do I need to be cleaning my dog's teeth? Do I need to be brushing or cleaning my dog's teeth?
So the answer is yes, it's highly advisable. And in fact, it's also advisable to clean your cat's teeth if that's possible. The way to do it, it gets a little bit technical, and that's something you could discuss with your veterinarian. There's also really great information on a website called Veterinary Partner. So that's Veterinary Partner, all one word. And that's a website with a wealth of knowledge about all kinds of pet-related issues. And that's all written by veterinarians. So it's very reliable information. One thing just to be aware of is don't use human products for trying to brush your dog's and cat's teeth. You should be using something you get through the veterinarian or the pet store. And also, obviously, your fingers could potentially be in that animal's mouth, so you do need to know what you're doing before you start.
Amazing. And also, guys, too, as we mentioned yesterday, there are a lot of training opportunities that we offer at the shelter. So if you are looking for some hands-on techniques or skills on how to get comfortable inside of your animal's mouth, definitely head on to our website, torontohumanesociety.com, and we can get you sorted with that. So next question we have, what flea, tick, and heartworm medication do you recommend? And is using a flea collar enough? Is that going to prevent fleas from happening?
So I'm not going to mention a particular brand because it's surprisingly complicated. It really depends on what parasites you're trying to treat and prevent. And that depends on whether you have a dog or a cat, where you live, what your kind of lifestyle is. So different products will address fleas, mites, worms, and heartworm, and there are different combinations for all those different things, as well as ticks. So that's something to definitely discuss with your veterinarian. The veterinary prescription products are by far the most effective and the safest. And I would definitely not just go to a pet store and get a parasite prevention product from a pet store. As far as tick and flea collars are concerned, they typically are not as good as the veterinarian provided products. So we tend to recommend one of the topical spot-on products or an oral product, both of which are available from your veterinarian or from the THS Public Veterinary Service Wellness Clinic.
Amazing. Thank you, Linda. All right, next question. How often should I feed my dog?
There are a lot of questions about nutrition, and there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. So the first thing I'll say is when you're looking for information, there are three main sources I would recommend. One is your veterinarian. The second is a veterinary nutrition site from one of the universities. And the third is the American College of Veterinary Nutritionists. In all of those cases, you have a reputable source of information, and it's not somebody who's just trying to sell you a product. It's somebody who's really knowledgeable and has the welfare of your animal at heart. Excuse me. So for dogs and cats, for adult animals, typically they need to be fed twice a day at the very least. Sometimes they can be fed more often, but always make sure that you are measuring the amount of food and not overfeeding. Puppies and kittens need to be fed more frequently and then less frequently as they get older. One of the issues with nutrition that comes up over and over again is what to feed. There's such a bewildering array of pet foods out there, and it can be very, very difficult. So one of the guidelines is to use pet food that follows the guidelines from the AAFCO, and you can typically find that on the label. It's quite difficult to find sometimes, but typically the clue is that it says this is a balanced diet for a particular life stage of animal.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. All right, next question here. How often should I be taking my pet for a checkup?
So generally the advice is that most animals should be seeing their vet at least once a year. And then for animals with special needs and older and younger animals, that would be more frequent.
Perfect. Okay. And leading, I guess, piggybacking onto that question is, how would you find a good vet for your pet or your dog or your cat? As we know, there's so many out there. Are there some things to look out for that would indicate that they are a good vet?
So that's a little bit of a difficult question to answer just in a sort of a soundbite, because there's a lot of personal choice involved. However, what I would say is that most of us would like our veterinarian to be fairly nearby. So what I'd suggest is Google the veterinarians in your general area. I think it's worth looking at the reviews, but be very, very careful, especially about seriously negative reviews. Sometimes that just reflects a particular individual or a particularly bad experience somebody had. So if you are looking at Google reviews, look at the general sense of the reviews, not just those one or two standouts at one or the other end. Then I'd also recommend you speak to your neighbors about who they go to and what their experiences have been. It's really important to have a good fit with a veterinarian, someone you trust, someone you get on with, someone you feel you can call for advice, and obviously somebody within your price range, because different clinics do have different offerings and the pricing can be quite different. I would also say that the clinic should be fear-free certified. That means that they have taken specific measures to make a veterinary visit less stressful for your pet. And for a cat clinic, the cat-friendly designation is also a sign that they have tried to tailor that clinic so that it's less stressful, particularly for cats who really don't like going to the vet.
That's all. Sorry about that, Linda. Just getting us sorted here. Actually, you know what, Linda? I'm going to pause it. Give me 2 seconds. Like this. Once again, to make sure that we are editing. Okay. Oh, I had a follow-up question for you, Linda, based on what you just said. Oh, sorry. It was going to be to plug our training classes because you had mentioned fear-free. I was just going to plug our vet visits training class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You could actually ask me about something about the training, because it's actually a good point. Like, most veterinarians are not experts in behavior and training. So
okay, I'll pose it to you then. Okay. All right, awesome, Linda. So Linda, can you also tell us a little bit about how you can prepare a pet to go to a vet clinic and what THS has to offer on that front?
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to be aware that while veterinarians are very knowledgeable and we do cover information about behavior and training, puppy socialization, and so on, the real experts in this field are certified behavior experts, and the THS has an incredible group of veterinary training experts who can help you with any behavior questions and problems you have with your pet. So one of the important things about having an animal go to the vet is they need to be socialized, they need to be comfortable on a lead, they need to be comfortable around different people and potentially different animals. And for cats, they need to be acclimated to their carrier so that going into the carrier isn't a stressful experience. Your veterinarian can also help you with particularly stressed animals with fear-free medication that they can get before they go to the vet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda. So helpful. Next question. I have a question about ear mites. How can I check for them? How can I treat my cat if she has them? And how dangerous are they? Is there anything that I can do to prevent ear mites?
Okay, great question. So first of all, don't ever go poking inside an animal's ear. But if a cat does have ear mites, you would notice that they'd be shaking their head or scratching their ears. And if you just look at the top of the ear, just as it goes into the ear canal, you usually see some kind of brownish, blackish discharge. If you do think the cat has ear mites, that's going to require a visit to the vet and then some prescription parasite product to treat that. Don't try and treat that yourself. In terms of whether it's dangerous, it's not really dangerous and they don't affect people, but at the same time, it's very uncomfortable, can be very itchy, and if they're left for a long time, they can lead to very serious ear infections.
That's awesome, Linda. It's just like people, the doctors say, don't put things in your ears, don't put Q-tips in your ears. The next question, which is it's an interesting one because I know that there's a lot of opinions around it, but should I spay or neuter my pet, and what is the best age to do it?
Well, there are some very good reasons to spay and neuter your pet. From a shelter perspective, we are really concerned about overpopulation, and people here might not be all that aware of it right now, but certainly in the second half of the 20th century, many animals were euthanized in shelters because there was just no space for them and no homes for them. So overpopulation is still very important so that that problem doesn't happen again. In a shelter, we will spay and neuter animals very early, and that's because that's our mission is to reduce overpopulation and keep the numbers down. For an owned animal in a home, in general, spaying and neutering should happen at about 4 to 6 months of age, but there has been some research in recent years to show that certain large breed dogs can benefit from waiting to be spayed and neutered until they're older than that. That information is quite breed specific, and some of them develop joint problems and certain cancers in higher proportions if they're spayed and neutered early. So this is something where your veterinarian can advise you about the exact age for a particular breed, and that particularly applies to purebred dogs because it's very different from breed to breed. For cats, we really recommend spaying them at 4 to 5 months of age before they can have their first heat. I didn't mention the medical benefits and the behavioral benefits of spaying and neutering and why you should do it in the first place. So for female dogs, it prevents the dog version of breast cancer, as well as infections of the uterus, which can be life-threatening and are very common in older female dogs that are not spayed. For males, the health benefits are really not as clear-cut. There can be some behavioral benefits. There's obviously the roaming, prevention of roaming and possible aggression in dogs, but it's a little bit less compelling for certain dogs that they don't always have to be neutered depending on the specific animal and your specific circumstances. For male cats, there's a very strong case to be made for neutering them pretty early, and that is that they will roam and spray, and the urine of a male cat can be extremely pungent.
Amazing. Thank you, Linda. All right, next question. How often should I bathe my dog?
So I'd say that's really a personal preference. Dogs don't have to be bathed. The reasons to bathe a dog it would be if the dog is dirty, if that's your preference, and potentially if they've got some kind of skin disease. I would say not more than once a week. Make sure that it's a pet-specific shampoo. And if your dog is clean and not smelly and you don't want to bathe them too often, that's absolutely fine.
Great. Thank you so much, Linda. Next question. My cat's pee has been super smelly lately. Is there anything I can do about it? I do not like the smell of scented cat litter.
So you would start off by wondering why that cat pee smell has changed. One possible reason might be a young male cat that is starting to turn into a mature tom cat. And as I mentioned, their pee has a very distinctive smell, and it can be very pungent indeed. So that's one possibility. If you haven't changed anything in terms of the litter boxes, where you have the litter box, then the change is the pee itself, and that could indicate a urinary tract infection or another medical problem. So that would require a visit to the vet and a urine test to see what the issue is. Your veterinarian will also be able to advise you about different kinds of litter boxes and litter.
Amazing. And there's so many different options as well for litter. We also sell different types of litter at our shelter. So litter that's good for animals in different parts of the life cycle that might have sensitivities towards smell and all things in between. So definitely head on over to our website or reach out to us to inquire about supporting our retail section. Last question for you, Linda. When my pet gets a lump, should I be going to the vet right away?
So not necessarily, that very much depends on the lump. If it's, for example, a small little dry lump on an older animal and it's not bothering them at all, that's something where you could watch and wait. If you have a lump that comes up very suddenly, that's painful, that's itchy, that's worrying the animal, certainly go and see the veterinarian. One type of lump that does happen on a pretty frequent basis is a little bump where there's been a recent vaccination. So if that doesn't go down within a few days, certainly call your veterinarian and find out when you should go in and see them about that. Most of those lumps disappear, but if they don't, they definitely need attention, especially in a cat.
That's awesome. Linda, thank you so much for all of this incredible information. We'd love to have you on again sometime in the future for more information. And thank you guys all for tuning in and for asking your great questions. I'll just remind everyone, if you didn't get a chance to ask your questions before this event, comment them down below and we will get back to them. This recording will also live here on our Facebook page for viewing and for sharing. So be sure to engage with this post so we can spread this wonderful, valuable information with the masses. Linda, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you very soon, hopefully.
You're welcome, Hannah.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.